So in the last video, we talked about laying out a site, which was important so as that we were able to know how many houses that were going to be on that, because that's going to be an important factor in establishing the gross development value. Gross development value being the end value of those properties combined. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a desktop appraisal. One of the things you might ask is, why don't we do this before we actually go and see the landowner is? And it's really about time. It's about being most efficient with your time. If we did an appraisal before we went and saw each landowner, we would actually waste an awful lot of time, because they might say we're not interested in selling. And also it gives us an opportunity to get to know the landowner in the first visit, and then the second visit it makes that process much easier because you've already built up some rapport with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at an example of a piece of kit that we use in order to efficiently assess sites. And usually once once you've got this up and running, you can usually assess a site within 20 to 30 minutes. So before I just go on to that, just to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, and remember to join our Facebook group. There's some interesting discussions going on there, and we'd love to have your input there. So now let's go and have a look at the desktop and look at a desktop appraisal. We create one of these workbooks for each of the potential sites that we're looking at when prior to negotiating with the landowner. So it's essentially a Excel workbook that has multiple tabs. This is simply just the process, so as that you know where you are within the process. Then we'd put in the contact details there of the landowner. This is simply for working out the GDV. So we will take recently sold price, current new build prices, and current asking prices. And through the matrix, we will then come to understanding what the likely GDV is for this particular site. So we've chosen just using basically the example that we used before when we laid out the site, of coming to a valuation of 2,700 per square meter. So now, having established the GDV, we then need to look at the costs. And we have this basically a build cost model to solve one of the big problems that people generally have. Is this essentially has a complete build of an actual house and the costing for every item in that house in terms of materials and labor. And so these prices obviously will vary depending on which part of the country that you're in. And so what we've allowed you to do is to actually filter, put in what the local labor rates are for your area for the different trades, and also to do some research on the materials and adjust them, and that will give you then an accurate build cost. Once you make those adjustments in those two tabs here, it essentially changes the figures in here, giving you a reliable build cost. You can then make an assessment within that, so the only thing you would change on here is this figure here. This is just in order to solve that problem of how much does it cost to build a house in the UK. And then this then brings us to the next tab, which is really looking at our costs. So you can see here we've got the total GDV of 4.8 million here, and then we look at all the costs in terms of developing this site. So we've got our development costs in terms of the planning process, then our build costs here. So we're showing a build cost of 2.5 million, plus we've got it in a contingency of just over $250,000. We've taken the 10%. You can adjust that to whatever you would like. And then we've got all the other different associated costs that come in here. And the reasoning behind all of this, including all the development costs and the build costs, is that so as that we come to a deal analysis. And essentially what we're looking at is what are we going to sell the site for? When I say site, I'm talking about the completed built out site. And then what are all the costs associated with that? And really all that we're really trying to achieve in this part is this a viable proposition? And the figure that we're kind of looking at that is most important is this residual land value. So when we take the GDV figure of 4.8 million, we're taking then 25% of that, which is our profit. So we've calculated our profit there is 1.2 million. And then that comes into this equation here. So we've got our total cost of 3.3, our development cost, our profit of 1.2, taken away from our GDV gives us our residual land value. Providing that is in the plus, then this passes the desktop desktop analysis. So that's essentially what we're looking to do there. If it does, then we move on to the next stage, which will be then a full development process, which we'll be incidentally covering in the next video. So as I mentioned briefly earlier, this is a piece of kit that we give our students who come on the Property Developers Mastery course. If that is in any way of interest to you, then you can find full information from the link up here and a link down below, and you'll get a full brochure of what's actually involved in that. And if that still interests you, then book a discovery call with me and we'll talk through the process and see if this is if we are a good fit, because we want to make sure that this program is right for you and that and we are right for you. So if that's of interest, as you say, click on that link and we will have a discussion. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is that now that we've actually done a desktop appraisal, we're ready to move on to a full appraisal, assuming that it has passed the viability test in the desktop appraisal, and that will be the subject of the next video. So if you want to watch that video, then that video will be here once it's published, and if you want to watch the video prior to this, that will be this video here. I look forward to speaking to you the next time. Take care. Bye bye.